Tired of the ordinary at lunchtime? Why not try something smart to chew on? The Lunchroom on RCI, Monday to Friday, 12:45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom, informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI, food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International for Tuesday, the 7th of October 2025. And we are on to program number 1463 of the Lunchroom. I'm your host, Calix George Jr. Now, of course, in addition to Radio 101.1 FM, you can also get us at our website, rcistlucia.com, and we are streaming live on Facebook. You just have to search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. And also a reminder that we're also on YouTube. You can check us out there as well. Well, I want to send out some birthday greetings for today. And first to Mr. Dylan Tobier, happy birthday to you, sir. Hope you're having a wonderful birthday celebration. And also to Miss Kimmy Pinnell, happy birthday to you. Hoping you're having a fantastic day. And also to Miss Kiana Jalim, happy birthday to you. Hope you're having a fantastic birthday as well. I look back in time and some of the history for today. In 1571, the Battle of Lepanto saw the Holy League of Catholic States formed by Pope Pius V destroying an Ottoman fleet in a significant defeat of Western Greece. In the year 1737, a cyclone caused 40-foot waves that are believed to have killed over 300,000 people in Calcutta in India. 1919, on this day, KLM, Royal Dutch Airlines, was founded in Amsterdam, making it one of the world's oldest airlines. And the year 2001, on this day, the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan began with an air assault and covert ground operations. And on this day in 2023, it's been 2 years now since Hamas launched a major air and ground attack on Israel from Gaza, killing over 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages, prompting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to declare we are at war. We now move on to our dish of the day.
Every bed in our hospitals tells a story of someone's mother, someone's brother, someone's friend. And when that story of care is complete, it's time for the next chapter, home. But too often, discharged patients are left waiting hours, days, weeks, sometimes months, not because they want to stay, but because no one comes. We understand life gets busy, but every extra day they wait means another patient, perhaps in pain, perhaps in crisis, can't get the bed they desperately need. So when the call comes that your loved one is ready, please be ready too. Pick them up, bring them back to the comfort of family, where healing truly continues. Because caring doesn't end at discharge, it continues with you. A message from the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program here today for this Tuesday. Of course, yesterday was Thanksgiving here in St. Lucia, and certainly an important feast day for members of the Anglican community here in St. Lucia, as well as members of the Methodist community as well, who mark that day as part of their calendar. Of course, it's a national day here in St. Lucia. holiday in St. Lucia. So, of course, we do hope that everybody had a very good one, a very restful one. And, of course, no doubt there have been lots of people out and about on the beaches and enjoying themselves, enjoying the long weekend. It was also another weekend of campaigning amongst the two political parties. The government, the reigning St. Lucia Labour Party had a rally down in Miku, in the Miku playing field, which was to launch their candidate for Miku South, Dr. Chandali Haraksingh, the daughter, in fact, of Miss Lelia Haraksingh, who put herself up for elective politics on two separate occasions, I believe. First as an independent and also as a representative or candidate of the St. Lucia Labour Party. So her daughter has taken up that mantle of elective politics and has put herself up to contest that seat against none other than the former Prime Minister and the political leader of the opposition United Workers' Party. I'm currently the opposition leader, the Honorable Alan Shasney. And of course, him coming into that seat, of course, had a certain degree of controversy at the time, given that he did attempt to contest the elections, was it sometime back in 2011, and at that time putting himself up to run the Soufrière Forcé Jacques seat, and he was not successful in that contest, and subsequently was able to effectively get the then Member of Parliament for that constituency, Mr. Arsene James, to in fact step aside and to allow him to run that seat. Of course, that seat has generally been seen to be a safe United Workers' Party seat. And, of course, the history of that Eastern Belt dates, in terms of the association with the United Workers' Party, dates back to the founder of the United Workers' Party, Sir John Compton. And in those days, it was in fact just one seat, which currently is 4 seats. It was just the Eastern District. And of course, eventually it was split in the 1960s to become 2 seats, that of Dennery and Miku. And then in 1974, it was then split again. And so those 2 seats became 4 seats. And so the association with Miku in particular has been maintained through that legacy of Sir John Compton. The last time he ran, in fact, was in that of Miku North. Of course, that seat is currently held by the St. Lucia Labour Party's Honorable Jeremiah Norbert. And so it'll be very interesting to see how this entire election pans out in terms of the Miku area. Could it be that for the first time that we may very well see a significant change in the color of Miku? In fact, each seat has in fact been won at different times by the St. Lucia Labour Party, but by and large, it has traditionally been yellow. And so it'll be very interesting to see what comes of this contest between Alan Shasney and Chandali Haraksingh. Of course, in the north of the island, there was also another event, and the individual who's hoping to oust the current candidate, Honorable Kenson Kazimi, in the constituency of Grosley, Mrs. Marcella Johnson. She took to the stage up at Grosley in the Rodney Bay area, and a meeting being held there. And following that, in fact, I think she also had yesterday a constituency-wide motorcade. And so we can see that on both sides, different approaches, of course, and different activities. The ruling party is seemingly very buoyed by very large turnouts at the events, and certainly if one could perhaps compare two events that were both held in the same space, that of the Miku playing field, certainly is a very stark comparison in terms of the overall turnout. Looking at the drone footage, and it would appear very strong numbers coming out for the incumbent at this time. Of course, the opposition is taking aim at what they see as, I suppose, largesse, what they've dubbed lots of spending. But of course, we can think back to the, perhaps 2016, in the 2016 general election, and we saw very large crowds coming out for both parties. Thus far, the opposition is still perhaps trying to see how it can build some momentum in terms of mobilization, in terms of people actually coming out. But the numbers are not certainly showing that, at least in terms of participation in terms of these types of events. All that being said, of course, elections can be rather fickle, and the electorate can be very fickle as well. And one can also expect, perhaps, as the ruling parties tend to have an edge, perhaps, to some degree when it comes to these matters, because maybe some people don't want to put themselves out there. They don't want to be labeled, or they don't want to be seen to be supporting one side or the other, and they prefer to hold their allegiance until it comes down into the secret space of the polling box, or the polling booth. So certainly that is where it at the end of the day ends up mattering on election day. And we, of course, have not gotten into the mode of lots of polling, at least not in terms of publicly available polling results, to be able to ascertain where the country is at. And I think it's a very important step that we certainly do need to take in respect of understanding where the population is and what really matters to them. And I think when you think about it, it's actually important for all, for the society as a whole, that the society is in fact polled on a large scale. Right now, for example, in the United Kingdom, quite often lots of polling is done by the government itself, YouGov, and they engage in assessments as to where people are at politically, and of course where they stand on a multitude of different issues, because it is important to understand the views of the electorate, what matters to them. Are they satisfied with healthcare? Are they satisfied with education? Do they want to see better roads? Where do they want to see the resources of the country placed? What is for them important? And so hopefully we may very well get to that point and that level of maturity in our country to be able to, in fact, have that level of polling that is done at a public level, for the benefit of the entire state, to be able to see what their fellow citizens feel about various matters. And sometimes these polls can be very, very revealing. Right now, for example, in the United Kingdom, very telling that if an election were called right now, chances are Mr. Nick Farage, who has for a very long time being seen to be on a very ultra-right, on the fringes of politics, over the years, and his right wing, ultra right wing party could very well win the next general election based on polling that has in fact been done. And a very telling change of scenario with the traditional two major parties of the Labour and the Conservatives finding a very hard fought battle in this instance. So very interesting, of course, in that regard. And it would be rather telling to find out what would polls tell us right here in St. Lucia. Interestingly enough, the statistics department here in St. Lucia is in fact undergoing their own assessment and planning as to how to move forward with respect to statistics, a strategy for statistics. And that is important. We certainly are living in an age that is driven by data. It is informed by big data. Data analytics is critical for nearly everything that we're doing right now. And so the need to be able to have a strategy for understanding ourselves better certainly should also mean that we're going to understand ourselves within the political sphere as well. Because at the end of the day, in as much as there are many other spheres and you do want a political government, at the end of the day, it is the political system that effectively puts in place Parliament, it puts in place the people to represent us. So we certainly do need to understand well where people lie, where they believe, what their beliefs are politically in this regard. Shifting a little bit to the international arena, and just to make mention that it is certainly, as we mentioned earlier on in our history of the day, 2 years since that attack by Hamas into Israel on the 7th of October 2023, on the anniversary of another war that was fought by Israel, the famous 1973 Yom Kippur War. And Israel, of course, has had a very difficult relationship with its Arab neighbors. And, of course, a lot of that stems from the reality of the state of Israel being formed within a space that was effectively majority is Islamist or Islamic, you could say, and not necessarily Arab, but Palestinian, with, of course, most of the population of Palestine being Islamic, being part of the Muslim faith. And this state coming in and effectively laying claim to land that was traditionally part of Palestine, traditionally part of the Ottoman Empire prior to World War I, itself trying to find itself, trying to gain independence, coming out of the systems, the protectorates that were set up by Britain and France in the Middle East, and trying to create their own state. Found itself in a very interesting situation because, of course, coming out of World War II, coming out of the genocide of the Holocaust, where millions and millions of Jews were in fact killed in Europe, the desire to in fact see a state or a homeland for Jews was almost seen to be a sort of a part of reparations for that of the Europeans towards the Jewish population. And so, of course, it went their own way. And even before that, we saw efforts of Zionism, many individuals, Jews, heading back into what they saw as their homeland, the Holy Land, trying to recreate a state of Israel. And they were effectively able to do so through military support, aid coming from wealthy Jews from Europe and the United States of America, providing money to be able to fund an army, to be able to fund weapons, and they certainly were eventually able to complete that desire of creating a post-World War II state of Israel. And of course, since then, that state has been very strongly buoyed by support from the West, particularly that of the United States of America, back since 1948 when they declared independence. And there have been a number of wars fought with Israel trying to gain new territory. Although there was, in fact, a proposal to create two states to begin with, they effectively were able to gain more territory than was originally being proposed by the United Nations. They were able to push even further out during the 6 Days War, for example, when they fought forces out of Egypt, for example, and I think Egypt, Syria, Jordan were all fighting against Israel, and Israel was able to expand its territory, take control over the Sinai and regions on the north side as well, such as the Golan Heights. And then came the 1970s, a decade later, or less than a decade later, where there was a level of exacting of the wrath of the other Arab states, Egypt and Syria, again during the October 7th Yom Kippur War. And that led to eventually Israel having to let go of a number of their annexed territories, such as regions of the Golan Heights, as well as the Sinai Peninsula. And so that, of course, had gone down and still is part of that history of Israel. And then, of course, to see on the anniversary, the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War, action being taken by Hamas, some believing that they were hoping that somehow this action would have encouraged perhaps other players, other countries, Arab countries, to be able to come to their aid and to get involved, to pull them in by association. But that certainly has not panned out. And we have certainly seen, in fact, to a great degree, many Arab countries have effectively closed their doors to refugees or further refugees coming out of Gaza. And so Gaza has effectively been at it all on its own and to deal with the wrath of an Israeli state that has quite a lot of weaponry, that is still receiving a significant amount of aid from the United States of America. And the devastation that we have seen has been far more than what would have been perhaps considered relative or commensurate with the actions of Hamas. In the Hamas attack, 1,000 civilians were killed. And I think in the aftermath of that, and since Israel has laid war against Gaza, we've seen about 81,000 killed in Gaza. And a lot of individuals just presumed to be dead because they've just not been found. Thousands not been found. Lots of issues in terms of starvation, in terms of famine. I mean, we're also speaking about tens of thousands of people who have been detained, hundreds of thousands of people injured in this battle. And it has certainly been a very, very bloody and absolutely devastating for the people of Gaza. A population that was generally living in relative peace, one could say, albeit, of course, under tremendous restrictions in terms of movement. And remember what you have in terms of Palestine. You effectively have two countries, if so to speak, that could effectively be like islands, because Israel finds itself wedged between the two of them. The West Bank, of course, on the eastern side of Israel, between Israel, the border of Israel, and the Jordan River, and that West Bank region, where you've got most of what would be considered Palestine, if the state of Palestine, is still not connected directly to Gaza, and Gaza finds itself very separate from it. A population of about 2 million people, very, very, very densely packed into a very small area that is smaller than Barbados, 141 square miles. So it's smaller than St. Lucia, and you're dealing with 2 million people packed into this area. So, of course, very difficult circumstances already. They were facing major challenges in terms of being able to feed themselves. You just don't have the extent of land, being dependent on foreign aid to be able to support pretty much anything and everything that was going on in Gaza. And even with that situation now, finding themselves even more pressed because of the significant amount of destruction of pretty much 75% of Gaza currently occupied, and invariably the majority of buildings destroyed, and certainly a very, very, very difficult circumstance for 2 million people to have to be dealing with. It is not a good situation at all. And of course, you can very well understand why many countries are, in fact, trying whatever they can to be able to try to put some more pressure on Israel, whether through taking steps like not listening to Benjamin Netanyahu when he speaks at the United Nations, and of course also recognizing the state of Palestine. A number of countries, in fact, doing just that, giving it international recognition. But of course, the bigger issue still remains how to find a peace out of this extent of devastation that has befallen the people of Palestine, the people of Gaza. And of course, that is something we are still perhaps going to have to see how it pans out. It's been 2 years now, and it's a very long period of time. One would like to believe that there would be a halt, but there, of course, are others who have suggested that the real existence, the ability for Mr. Netanyahu to hold on to power is effectively tied to this war and how long he can, in fact, keep it going. So there have been some proposals, even coming, of course, from the United States and Mr. Donald Trump, the president there, making proposals. Let's see if, in fact, these could ever come to light. That's our dish of the day. And when we come back, we're going to take in our weather report and then head across to take in some calls.
This has been The Daily Dish.
Every bed in our hospitals tells a story of someone's mother, someone's brother, someone's friend. And when that story of care is complete, it's time for the next chapter, home. But too often, discharged patients are left waiting hours, days, weeks, sometimes months. not because they want to stay, but because no one comes. We understand life gets busy, but every extra day they wait means another patient, perhaps in pain, perhaps in crisis, can't get the bed they desperately need. So when the call comes that your loved one is ready, please be ready too. Pick them up. Bring them back to the comfort of family, where healing truly continues. Because caring doesn't end at discharge. It continues with you. A message from the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs.
And it's now time for your weather report, brought to you by Island Style.
Girl, I've been so stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home.
Really?
Yeah, it's always the same white, beige, and gray tiles with the style stores. Like they're all buying from the same place. You're the design expert. Help me, please. I'm fed up.
What are you looking for?
Something different. Something that says Caribbean beauty and suits my personality. Something vibrant and classy with a little razzle-dazzle.
Okay, Ms. Razzle Dazzle, I know just the place. Island Style Tile and Bath, they're my #1 store for everything tile. And with their new In Living Color collection, you'll find the most gorgeous styles to give you that splash of Caribbean flair you're looking for.
That sounds perfect.
I'll even take you myself and throw in a free design consultation.
I'll never say no to that, sis. I can't afford you anyway.
Visit our Island Style showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay, and View Fort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. We'll help bring your vision to life in living color.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And the forecast for St. Lucia valid for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from between the east and southeast near 10 miles per hour or 17 kilometers per hour. Becoming lighter and variable or calm during the night. Weather: partly cloudy skies becoming cloudy at times with widely scattered showers, which may be locally heavy and isolated thunderstorms. The forecast for the Lesser Antilles: partly cloudy skies becoming cloudy at times with widely scattered showers, which may be locally heavy and isolated thunderstorms. The tropical weather outlook: moist, unstable conditions will cause some showers and isolated thunderstorms over the region during the forecast period. Tropical storm Jerry forms over the tropical Atlantic, the 10th named storm for the season. At 11 a.m. today, the center of the newly formed tropical storm Jerry was located near latitude 11.5 north, longitude 44.6 west. Jerry is now moving towards the west near 24 miles per hour or 39 kilometers per hour. A decrease in forward speed and a turn to the west-northwest is expected during the next couple of days. On the forecast track, the core of the system is expected to be near or the north of the northern Leeward Islands later Thursday and Friday. Maximum sustained winds are 44 kilometers per hour or 75 kilometers. Let me do that again, sorry. Maximum sustained winds are 45 miles per hour and 75 kilometers per hour with higher gusts. The system is steadily strengthening during the forecast, and Jerry is expected to become a hurricane in the next 2 days. And that was your weather report brought to you by Island Style.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Girl, I've been so stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home.
Really?
Yeah, it's always the same white, beige, and gray tiles with the style stores. Like they're all buying from the same place. You're the design expert. Help me, please. I'm fed up.
What are you looking for?
Something different. Something that says Caribbean beauty and suits my personality. Something vibrant and classy with a little razzle dazzle.
Okay, Ms. Razzle Dazzle, I know just the place. Island Style Tile and Bath, they're my number one store for everything tile. And with their new In Living Color collection, you'll find the most gorgeous styles to give you that splash of Caribbean flair you're looking for.
That sounds perfect.
I'll even take you myself and throw in a free design consultation.
I'll never say no to that, sis. I can't afford you anyway.
Visit our Island Style showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay, and View Fort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. We'll help bring your vision to life in living color.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Of course, the number to call and tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And WhatsApp number 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. Let's go to the phone lines at this time to take in a call. Good afternoon. Welcome to the lunchroom. And what's on your plate today? How are you doing, sir? Wonderful. Afternoon, caller. Thanks very much for your serenading. I suspect maybe you may have to get some songs written for for Calypso season very soon. We didn't make out everything that you said. I think the line is a little bit bad, but I think we got the overall gist of what you were in fact singing. But of course, yes, we're going to be hearing quite a lot of serenading coming from various camps, lots of dance moves, interestingly enough, of course. Every so often we see images of politicians taking to the stage and showing off their dance moves, sometimes the lack thereof as well. And of course, no doubt, there'll be lots and lots of comedy and jest as well. And even some heroic tales, it would appear. We're seeing, apparently, I think, en route to going around and on their whistle stop, on their motorcade, some supporters of the United Workers' Party came to the rescue of an individual, it appears, who had a house on fire or something up to that extent. So very interesting images coming out of this current campaign, and let's see how it continues to pan out. Of course, one of the matters that is certainly very serious right about now, island-wide, is the issue of water. And we've been hearing issues of our water woes the challenges, of course, faced by the island and by consumers of the who require potable water, and of course who, in the main, get that potable water from the utility company here, the Water and Sewage Company. Of course, a company that is 100% owned by the government of St. Lucia. Very different circumstance compared to other utilities here in St. Lucia. The telecommunications utilities have, of course, traditionally always been owned by private entities. A long-standing situation with Cable and Wireless in St. Lucia, which had monopoly rights for many, many decades here. And of course, eventually we saw the liberalization of that sector to allow for other participants. We saw at least two others coming in, one still operating, that of Digicel, in addition to the legacy provider, Cable and Wireless, now Flow. In the instance of the electricity sector, we have a company that has is partly owned by government, but actually lots of shares owned by private interests as well. And so, of course, the participation of private equity, private investment has characterized our electricity sector. And there was, in fact, an attempt to do so with respect to the water sector, which unfortunately found itself being subject to quite a lot of political shenanigans. And you may recall, perhaps going back to the 2006 general election. So we were looking at that time, a thrust towards the private sector involvement and investment in the water sector. Currently, everything that is done in the water sector is dependent on the company itself and the revenue that it can attain from persons who are paying their bills, and of course from whatever they can get from the government. And of course we've seen that the situation in terms of tariffs has been a very topical one. It's always topical because nobody wants to pay more. And the big question is, are we paying a fair price? Is it a reasonable price? Are there safeguards for those who really cannot afford? That sort of thing. And it is, of course, perhaps from the perspective of utilities, one that we pay the least on when you compare what individuals pay for electricity, what they pay for their telecommunications, whether it's their cable and internet and telephone. But when we look at water, we love to come with, of course, the great tagline, indeed, water is life. But we sometimes don't want to sustain life by actually paying for it. And that has been a major challenge in terms of the water sector. Yes, it's a public good, but at the same time, it has to also sustain itself. And it is a pretty expensive undertaking to be able to do just that. Let's take in a call at this time. Good afternoon. Welcome to the lunchroom. And what's on your plate today? Very good, caller. How are you doing? I pay for water. I'm sure you do too. Well, I think we've had a history of that, eh? Yeah, we have had challenges with respect to people not wanting to pay any more than what they're already paying. And of course, you can understand the argument to the extent that people say, you know what, we want a good service. If I was paying for a good service, then I would pay. We had that argument, but then the question is, how much should one pay for the good service? Yes, I'm hearing you, caller. But then how does it do that if it has been starved of the necessary resources to be able to have achieved that in the first instance? Yeah, but was that increase ever sufficient? You see, I mean, that's where we find ourselves in, right? The issue is that yes, we've had an entity that has really been starved effectively, and then we'll say, okay, we've starved you, then, but you know what? We'll throw you a piece of bread today, and then we'll say, okay, but that's it. You won't get anything for the rest of the month. Would that ever be sufficient? Well, there you go. Right. So it starts from this determining, well, what is the population? What is the forecast? What amount of water we require, both from our domestic requirements as well as for economic development, right? You want hotels, we want industry, we want all these things that require water. It has to be measured out, and then we have to then ask ourselves, are we in a deficit situation? More than likely we are, in terms of what we can actually supply and how much it is going to cost to be able to actually supply that amount of water. And then, of course, how much is it going to cost to distribute that amount of water? So, of course, it has to be all costed out. No, 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 no. Certainly not. Don't try that one, caller. No, no, that's okay. I'm not getting into any conflicts of interest. And I'm anyways, caller, go ahead. Well, I think they have a something in now. Let's just put it that way. I said I think they have something in now in terms of well, you know the process, caller. In terms of a whatever is a request, there's a triennial process to go through making requests for tariff changes, right? When was the last time we saw a tariff adjustment? I think that was what, 2015. So we're talking about. Well, that's what I'm saying. I think there was recently an application. No, 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 no. I'm saying that it was recently an application that was made in, right? But then I'm saying when we look back over the entire period of time, right? We say the last increase was when 2015, and that was specific as far as I can remember. You were around, so you might be able to tell me right or wrong. That dealt primarily with the matter of the dam and that desilting fee. I can't remember what the general tariff increase was, right? But I know there was certainly this special tariff that was put on for the dam desilting project. But since then, we've gone through effectively, what, 3 tariff periods, 3 trienniums, right? And like I said, I think they've only now submitted one. But clearly, we then have to ask, well, why were they not submitting these before? Well, there you go. And then that changed. But let's look at it again, caller. In 2015, the last tariff change before that was what, 15 years before? 15 years. So we're doing a 15-year gap, and now we're doing a 10-year gap. So I guess there's some improvement if you want to argue that. But the point, the issue but the point I'm making to you is that even with these changes, these tariff adjustments, are they even really going to be sufficient to be able to deal with the major issues that confront us as a country in terms of our water supply, because it's going beyond even things that are within the control of the company itself. We've got issues with respect to the we have what, a water resources management agency, right? That's supposed to be responsible for protecting the water resource. That's one aspect in and of itself. We've got problems with the resource. Then you have some serious planning issues, right? We have people who believe that they can go and continue to build at high elevations, and that the water utility must be able to provide them with water. That's and then that's a planning issue, right? So, I agree. Mm-hmm. 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 But you know what that means, though, caller? Or the people who do have to pay the dredging fee, right? The people who are being serviced in the north will then have to pay more. Is it, I mean, if that's a logical thing, right? If at the end of the day we were the two of us were in a room, and the government was charging each of us $5, then they said, well, you Suku, you don't have to pay anymore, right? They'll still want to collect the $10 from us, so I'll have to pay 10, and you won't pay anything. So I'm just saying that it sounds nice, maybe for to people in the South who might figure, well, politically it will cause some movement or whatnot. But then other people need to think, well, what is the implication of that? Because at the end of the day, the loan still has to be serviced. The mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right. Mm. Mm. And I believe, caller, that is you say that there's no togetherness, but I actually believe that we are on to a certain extent on both sides, right? We allow this situation to be to for people to believe that, hey, it's not our fault, it's Wasco's fault. It it becomes a whipping boy, so yes. Yes, I have flow cable and flow. Yes, 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 yes. I don't know. I don't know what the legislation speaks to with respect to the cable service specifically. The right. Well, it may not. I think it was no, no, no. In that instance, it may not have been the issue the cable provider though. I suspect because even if you were following it on YouTube, you had that same problem. So I think there may have been a problem with the source in terms of maybe the bandwidth of right. So that one, yes, that one you could perhaps exempt them. But I do know that persons have been complaining about you may yes, you may have a channel today and then tomorrow you might look for that favorite channel. It might not be there anymore. So in those types of situations, yes, I know that is concerning. Um, I don't know because I mean you're paying for a service and you get however many hundreds of channels or whatever, and I don't know how they actually determine fully, which channel are they going to not provide or provide. Agreed, agreed, agreed. There has to be some oversight in that regard. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks very much for that call. Certainly. I mean, the whole issue of value for money. Are we receiving good value for money? How does it compare with other services in other jurisdictions? What are we getting? I mean, so certainly there has to be some level of oversight in that regard. And so, I mean, obviously, they're also looking at things like affordability. There'll be other considerations within that mix. But yes, the regulator certainly does have that role to be monitoring and to be seeing whether, in fact, there's any erosion in the quality of service. These things certainly do need to be sufficiently monitored. But we're actually at a point where we're going to have to put a pause for the program for the day. And hopefully we'll be back again tomorrow for another program. And hope you can join us for that, God willing. I'm your host, Calix George Jr., saying goodbye.
listening to Radio Caribbean International.
101 number 1.
The future of communication is here. Say hello to eSIM at Digicel. Use your Digicel number without a physical SIM card in your phone, and your data, minutes, and SMS